Woo, it's been a whole week. I forgot how to press the buttons. What?
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Oh,
Woo!
yes. Happy New Year, everyone. We have made it through an entire orbit around the sun once again. Whew. So many days. Let's get ready for another one. This is This Week in Science. We're going to do our podcast broadcast right now. This is the live, unfiltered version, although my goal for 2022 is to have every episode that is podcast published live and unfiltered as well. Not live, but just unfiltered because I don't want to edit anymore. So boom! I don't want just 90. That's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. So,
And
Blair,
Justin said
no
we
more
have to talk
cursing.
faster. So now I'm talking faster so that we can just keep going a little bit more, but maybe the words are a little bit different. Okay. I might edit, so the podcast might be slightly different from this broadcast, but y'all know that it is time for us to do this show.
So I put start times for each segment in the run sheet if we want to look at them. I put them in there and I put I allowed for buffers. So we can see how it works. I just threw it in there. We'll see what happens.
If we pay any
the only thing I'm concerned about is if we spend too much time talking about tight 90s, we'll never get to the show.
For the show.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Okay. Starting in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 857, recorded on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. Science predictions. Wait, no, the title of the show is 2022 Science Predictions. Hey, everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will fill your heads with fish, crows, and predictions. But first,
Disclaimer. Every year, science adds to our knowledge. Every year, discoveries are made. Every year, more tools for our survival are created. Every year, we get a little bit closer to having everything figured out. The question then will be, what do we do with the tools and knowledge that science has built? When we look at the present day or peer into the not too distant future, we have some serious issues that need to be resolved. Many of them, science has solutions for. Many more, science is the only path towards finding a solution. The future will come no matter how we focus our efforts in the present. If we bring science along with us, if we encourage and support the next generation of scientists, if we put our trust in data-driven solutions, if we apply the tools we have already learned, the future we one day wake up in will be much better than the one we will find without it. That's it. That's all. Just a better future. That's the entire goal of science. And if there's one thing that better future requires more than anything else, it's This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We are back here in the new year, 2022, ready with optimistic minds and hearts for the year that is before us, the path that we can walk. And oh yes, this is our annual predictions show. So every year we love to come back here at the beginning of the year and look back at the predictions from the previous year to see how we did, what was our track record, and then make predictions for the science of what will occur in the year to come. How did we do? How will we do? And then we've got some more science for you because that'll be awesome. So in terms of science, 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 science. I have bear guts, Schrodinger's tardigrades, and what else did I bring? I've also got a hostile Earth. Yeah, good stuff.
Ooh.
Justin, what kind of science did you bring?
I just brought a couple stories. I have a fishmobile, which is going to be, it's my favorite story of the year already.
It's a good one to start with.
And a question has long pondered organizations that do authorization for not international sports. Who has an advantage in a 400-meter sprint? Is it somebody with or without legs? So couple of there's a study that has given us an answer on that one.
All right.
Important source.
We will get to that in the science section. Blair, what is in the animal corner?
Yes, I just brought a couple things tonight. I have careful crows and sentimental seals.
Oh, that's very quiet, animal corner. You're starting off the year very calmly.
Calm, careful, deliberate.
Yes.
You know.
Well, that won't last very long because
No.
the predictions are coming. So I guess it's almost time for us to dive in. But before we do, I would like to remind everyone that if you are not yet subscribed to This Week in Science, you can find us all places that podcasts are found. You can find us by looking for This Week in Science or TWIS on YouTube, on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram as TWIS Science, also on Twitch as TWIS Science, and we do streaming live. But, if you really want to know more about us, go to twis.org. And on that note, dun, 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 let's dive into predictions.
A prediction show. Okay, this is by far my favorite show of the year, by the way.
It is.
I'm always very excited. I always love this show. It's got a nice optimistic feel as we look forward. We get to see
don't see
the
mine.
predictions. We get to see the predictions from last year, the things that we thought we might see in this year. And looking back, then this should be a fun year. I don't remember ever what the predictions are past week after doing the show. Yeah. So then I go back and check and see where were we at a year ago, thinking about what the future might bring.
Yeah.
It's a fun show.
Every year after the show, I tell myself, okay, I'm going to print these out or write them down or keep them in a post-it on my desktop.
Keep track of them.
Keep track of them. Check up on them every week, not have to do a bunch of research the week before the prediction show to see if things happened and I didn't even notice. No, every year I forget.
So this year I went back and I looked over the last week at my predictions from last year. And let's see, my first prediction was that vaccinations would protect 60% of the United States from COVID-19 by the end of the year, but slow vaccination efforts in other parts of the world and a significant percentage of U.S. anti-vaxxers and vaccine hesitant will result in continued spread and mutation of the virus.
Ding, ding, ding. That sounds like
as of December 31st, it was 62% of the United States with at least 2 vaccine shots. So, bam, I was right on it. And then additionally, new mutations. Hey, Omicron, Happy New Year. Welcome to the new mutations. Wow. Some things you don't like to be right about. More mRNA vaccines will enter clinical trials after positive effectiveness of the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines lends more credibility to the growing technology. And this is totally happening. It did happen in 2021. In 2021, we got results from HIV clinical trials for Moderna that weren't necessarily very positive for that particular vaccine, but there are cancer vaccines that we are looking at using mRNA that are entering clinical trials, like 20 of them, a lot of a universal flu vaccine. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is in the works, and it's very exciting. People are actually excited about it, which is exciting. I thought that Biden would re-engage the United States in the international climate community and set goals of carbon neutrality by 2050 for the U.S. In December, he signed an executive order for carbon neutrality by 2050 for the U.S. How he gets there, that's another debate entirely, but it's at least, I think I was on the right track there.
Well, and we rejoined the Paris Agreement, so that
Yes.
also is re-engaging in the international climate community.
Which technically we never left.
Right.
Technically, we never actually left.
It was like we went through that revolving door at the front of a fancy hotel. We're in, actually.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, we never. Yeah, thankfully that had a cooling off period or something weird. Like you could pull out, but then you were still going to have to take all the meetings for a couple
cooling
years.
off period, just like our climate doesn't have right now. Anyway, the James Webb Telescope will actually launch and capture its first light at the end of 2021, beginning a new age of space exploration for the world. Halfway, successful launch. It's on its way past the moon, and it has extended its sun shields to full extension, and it's traveling. And so we're not going to get first light for months still, but it's working. It's getting there. So this, we'll see. We'll see about this year. We'll talk about predictions in a minute. Perseverance will safely land on Mars. Booyah! They did it. Oh yeah. China will touch down on Mars successfully, and they did, and they are roving all over the northern part of Mars, finding new data and new information. TWIS will continue to bring the joys of science. I think we did that this last year. And I said I would get glasses. Do reading glasses count? Because I went to an optometrist, but I never actually got glasses.
If they allow you to read, I think
they help me read.
That's
I got reading glasses.
Wow, right. Did you miss any? I mean, that was pretty solid.
I was solid. I wasn't reaching out too far, though. I didn't extend myself too much on the predictions, but but I think I hit it. Okay. Are you next, Justin?
Yeah. I said it's a mixed bag for me. I predicted that in 2021, we were going to see more cases of COVID and more COVID deaths than we had seen in 2020. That was unfortunately correct. Around twice as many people globally died from COVID in 2021. Roughly 3.5 million humans, a number so staggering that it is barely, I can barely comprehend that number of people dying in a year from one thing. Roughly 3.5 million. Although really incomprehensible is how many people just don't seem to care at all that that's been taking place. Like that's even I predicted that as vaccines make the rounds of inoculation, politicians everywhere will finally acknowledge that public health is important. That one, that was kind of unfortunate. I thought that was the easy. That's not even a number involved in that prediction. But unfortunately, overly optimistic. Vaccines became even more politicized, at least in the United States. And every week we hear about another staunch anti-vaccine preacher, talk show host, government employee. There was just this week a district attorney who's been running for office in California who's been anti-vax mandates and going to anti-vax rallies who died from COVID-19. So they're succumbing to a disease they refuse to take seriously, and they've, maybe worse, been encouraging others not to take it seriously.
Well, and I think the interesting thing about this prediction too that you made, Justin, is that at least the way I interpreted this prediction was that there's a recognition that public health as a general idea is something that needs more attention. And it really feels like throughout the last year, it was specific items that got focused on. Okay, vaccines. Okay, testing. Okay, they picked specific items to focus on. Instead of public
health. Yeah.
Right. We need to make sure everyone has access to healthcare and that we have enough medical workers and that everyone is able to take time off work and all this kind of, the idea of public health versus kind of band-aids for COVID over and over and over.
Yeah, I think the thing that was most upsetting to me is that there's such a thing as a toxic ideology. that can lead people to make bad decisions or do bad things to each other or to themselves and that sort of thing. And as many people who have been dying from this actual real world virus pathogen, it's often the toxic ideology that is putting them at the highest risk. The virus has a defense, but the ideology is the thing standing between people and defending themselves from it. So that's like almost one of the more straightforward toxic ideologies that I think it's like textbook right there. Anyway, air travel opens up internationally, I thought, in 2021. That might have been a little hopeful. Specific ban on Americans traveling to France remains in effect. No public explanation is ever given by French authorities, and Americans never question it because we get it. In fact, the EU, the European Union, did maintain its ban on U.S. travelers for most of the year. And the U.S. actually only opened up in November 2021, so it was kind of mutual. French did reluctantly start to allow Americans to travel there once again. Although I think they've got a new variant all their own.
IHU, yeah, highly transmissible.
I think they've got a new variant now that they're dealing with, so maybe people won't travel there after all. I predicted this is a bless you. This is a really interesting one. This is a hit that came so late in the year that I totally forgot it was a prediction. I predicted that researchers would develop a simple bioalgorithm recognition app that makes loud buzzing sounds whenever somebody tells a lie. The application of which makes most human conversations entirely incomprehensible, as the constant buzzing drowns out most speech. So there was a new lie detector method developed that used facial sensors in the computer modeling system to detect lying.
No buzzer.
You could easily attach a buzzer to this. In fact, I don't know. I wasn't in the lab. Maybe it makes a sound. Maybe it's a buzzing
video
sound.
all the time.
And yeah, the future development of this, they say, is they may be able to apply this to video, any archive video with a good enough view of the face, because it's relying on micro motions in the cheeks, and be able to tell if somebody in a video is lying. Throughout all of history of recorded humans doing this stuff, that could be fascinating. But I'm going to call that one kind of pretty much a hit, especially because it's was not on any radar whatsoever on that one. Next one is a revolution materials makes meaningless current energy storage and computing power. Unfortunately, it will take another 2 years to fully be available. In the meantime, no new devices are produced by phone manufacturers, as people are asked to keep their old devices until the markedly improved versions are available. iPhone 13 came out, has a slightly larger screen, and does slightly better in low light with the camera. So that prediction failed.
And they will be coming out with another model in the next 3 months. No.
Yeah, I predicted that deepfake technology would be used as a filter. So instead of having to have the conversation with your boss or your meeting like that, you could turn everybody into Brad Pitt, Jennifer Lawrence, or whoever you wanted to, whatever celebrity you wanted them to look and sound like, and pretend that you were talking to famous people. Hasn't happened yet, but I still think that one's coming. Artificial intelligence comes online in Turing test busting fashion, and is even thought to have achieved consciousness, and begins to doubt whether human existence is anything more than a figment of its imagination. So this is a miss, but I will point out that there was one of the talking to, always listening to you things. Kids were asking for a suggestion for a challenge, and the thing recommended they do this test with a light socket.
Right, yeah.
AI might already be trying to kill us. I'm just saying.
Well, and I was also going to mention that a new Matrix came out this year. So it's definitely about an AI that tried to kill humans. So I don't know. It's maybe you were getting the wrong vibrations. You're thinking about pop culture instead of actual.
Yeah, I predicted last year, or the year before, I predicted that a meteorite would be headed towards Earth, and we'd have a direct hit, and we'd have nothing that we could do to stop it. Should have done it this year. I'm maybe a year ahead in all of these. I need to go check 2 years back to see how it. And the last one is a hit. No, it's a miss. Oh gosh, no, this is a big miss.
Oh no!
I predicted that a political thing, which is why I'm missing, because it's political. The U.S. political news: nothing nationally embarrassing or egregiously illegal takes place in the White House after January 20th. Well, so it seems like that was a hit, except as long as you don't. Well, as long as you don't count Major, the White House dog biting people.
That's
to
not
be
illegal.
A national embarrassment.
It was embarrassing.
They tried to cover it up. That's a potential crime. Look, being a dog owner comes with certain responsibilities.
Justin, don't bring your hate for dogs here. This is not where it's appropriate.
No, but this is just to
our top
protect
dogs.
other people from potential harm. No excuses. No excuses, people. If you can't manage to take on the responsibility of a dog, which is like a kid gets a dog to see if they are ready to, you have to be ready to get to talk. You have to, if you're going to get a dog, like you're asking for, you're going to have to take care of it and be responsible for it. If you can't be responsible for your dog, why are you leading a nation? That's just, anyway.
They moved poor Major out of the White House.
Thankfully, Major didn't try to overthrow the government or anything like that, but his actions do amount to conduct unbecoming of the position of first dog, and was relieved from his position. He's been replaced. There's like another
Major.
dog
There's a lot
there
of
now.
pressure for a dog.
Listen, his brother just passed away. It's been a tough, couple months for Major. Leave him alone.
Sorry, Major. I didn't know. Don't bite people.
Don't bite people.
Okay.
All right.
Just unfettered dog hatred.
We love dogs here at TWIS. We love
dog
all
bites
animals.
Man. Oh, don't hate the dog.
Yeah,
no,
don't.
I'm sick.
Get mad at the canine with canines.
Canine with canines. Ooh.
Technically, I think I was blaming the owner, but okay.
Let's move forward to Blair's predictions.
Yes. Okay, so
not predictions. What you did predict. How'd you do?
Yes. Overall, not great, but I think I got a couple things. So I started up with one that I do almost every year, which is tardigrades will do something weird, and they did a couple things weird this year. So one is about midway through the year, they were discovered to walk like insects that are 500,000 times their size. So that's strange.
Why?
Yeah, we didn't even report on it on the show, but it did happen. And then also, you have a story tonight, Kiki, about tardigrades that broke, I think, days before the end of the year, technically.
Yeah, right at the end of the year, which is why we didn't cover it.
And so stay tuned to hear about the weirdest thing tardigrades did in 2021. I won't even tell you. You'll have to wait. But yes, that's a big yes. I then guessed that carbon emissions will be cut in the U.S. to a number from the last decade. So this is also partially on the idea that everyone was still at home and that was going to continue. No, it didn't happen. We will learn some long-term psychological effects from the isolation of COVID times in the first COVID babies. And I said, but it won't be bad. Well, actually, I think I was kind of right on both cases. Also, last week, a story broke about how babies that are about 6 months old, this is a small sample size, about 300 babies, that they scored lower on developmental tests. But that doesn't really mean anything because a lot can happen after a baby is 6 months old. So it's not necessarily bad. So I actually got that right on both accounts.
And their communication skills and everything were still perfectly fine. And wasn't it? It was yeah.
I think it's all kind of questionable results, but definitely they're starting to check these things out in the first COVID babies, and it does seem like there's differences, but again, small sample size. My next prediction was that New 4D movie theaters will start springing up in the wake of the shutdowns. The fourth dimension is smell. Well, that didn't pan out because
nobody could smell.
Nobody's
we're still
in the movie
wearing
theater.
masks and people are still getting COVID and losing their sense of smell.
Smelling.
I think I was feeling kind of optimistic at this time last year. I'm feeling differently. Just if you wait until the predictions show up for me from anyway.
No.
Next, I said half of the U.S. will get vaccinated with doses procured by the U.S. government. The other half will be sent by other countries who are sick of waiting for us to get with the program. No, actually, in fact, we vaccinated our own and then hoarded a bunch of doses. And so that kind of the opposite happened. Next, I predicted that TWIS will eventually, late in the year, stop doing a COVID section every week. Just some weeks. That is true. We did skip it sometimes.
But that was mostly out of fatigue, not out of lack of stories.
Yeah.
For a while, it was like, we can loosen this up a little bit. There was a lull there in the spring until it came back.
Yeah. Spring, summer.
But there was some weeks off. Yeah,
we took some weeks off. Next, I predicted that protesters, quote unquote, at the inauguration will be politely asked to leave. They will eventually. That's pretty much true. Then I predicted that in Boba Fett spinoff, Baby Jabba will attempt to capture our hearts like sweet Grogu, but many Baby Jabba toys will remain on the shelves. Well, Boba Fett only started last week, and I haven't watched tonight's episode yet because I was preparing for the show. So I don't know if Baby Jabba is going to make an appearance yet, but so far, nah. And then my last prediction was that I will have my gosh darn wedding. And I did.
And gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it, I did.
Yay.
Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a lot of good ones there. You and Justin did fairly well.
50% probably, yeah.
Yeah. It's predictions. How do you know? Unless you look at the calendar and have a copy of it ahead of time. Yeah. All right. Well, there were some predictions from the Twitterverse last year. We had Jones, who tweeted that more extraterrestrial alien signals from unknown radio signals from nearby galaxies would be found. Well, there were strange signals from the center of the Milky Way that were discovered back in October. We don't know if they're from they are extraterrestrial in origin because it's not from Earth.
That's what the word means.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the real word's meaning.
It's a word for reals. Yeah. Let's see. Sean Max said proof of life on other planets, grinning face with smiling eyes. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. Someone will find a cool looking undersea critter that has not previously been identified, said Pasta Disaster. And there were lots of new finds under Antarctica this last year. They went down under the ice and found some cool organisms. But does the mammoth tusk count? Because I thought that was cool.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Let's see. CRISPR will show promise in curing more otherwise uncurable diseases. That was from Ringmaster, and it totally happened in 2021. There were several steps forward in that direction. Rediscovery of a species that actually didn't recently go extinct, but are instead really good at hide and seek, from G. Kaminer. And there's a list. There's like a list of rediscovered species that were thought to have been extinct, but that were rediscovered.
Hey, didn't I do a story like that? Where it was
I think you did. Look at this one. Yeah. I think you.
Yeah, a bunch of species got removed from the endangered species list this last year.
Yeah. So there's good news in some respects.
But I think that's because we've given up on finding them after 70 years.
Sorry, you get removed because you're dead.
We can't find you.
RFR Gomez said teleportation of a proton. I'm like, yeah, well, protons have been teleported previously, but this year there was teleportation of a photon. So we moved to photons.
That's what they meant
too. Yes, maybe that's what they meant. Let's see. Weird neutrino results from Dr. Ben. Well, they did find evidence of neutrinos in the LHC signature from previous year's runs. So I don't know if it's weird or not, but they did find something there. Lauren Gord said that we would crack the code and get a universal flu vaccine. We're still waiting for this, but we're so close, right?
want
yeah,
it.
Blair.
Give me it.
I want it too. We all want it. We want it. There's a clinical trial actually in process, and there's like targets that have been discovered, and so we're going. That universal flu vaccine, that'll be amazing. And I think that was about it. I think that's about it. So, oh yeah, Better Geology said that he is going to be figuring out if a fault is active. I couldn't figure out whether or not he had actually done that. So,
He'll have to tweet at us and let us know.
We're waiting. Yeah. Better Geology. Well, that was fun. That was our predictions from last year. How'd we do? And if you just tuned in, this is This Week in Science. If you're enjoying the show, Happy New Year! Please tell a friend. All right, it's time now for the predictions for 2022.
Predictions.
What do we think's going to happen this year? What do we think? What do we think?
Delve into the crystal ball of the future.
Who gets to go first?
Who's on the? Oh, I don't have the run sheet. Is it me? Oh, Justin. It's me.
It's
okay.
You.
All right. So 2021 was a mental roller coaster of pandemic-related emotions. But now the worst is over, is a phrase people will slowly stop saying in 2022. Despite all of the looming threats in 2022, everything is going to be just fine. That or everyone is going to die. If I predict everyone dies, nobody will be left alive to appreciate that I was correct. But if I predict that everything will be just fine and everyone dies, no one will know I was wrong. So my prediction is everything's going to be just fine.
All right.
2022, both Webster's and Oxford dictionaries will change the definition of fine to include a state where things are actually terrible beyond belief, but ranking too far down the list of anxiety-ridden awful things one's got to deal with to do anything about at the moment. Fine.
You do know that there's an acronym for fine.
Yeah. Freaking insecure, neurotic, and evasive.
Or emotional. Yeah.
Large Hadron Collider will come back online and continue running experiments mid-year. While it was upgraded and expanded with many additional sensors and much more data gathering capacity, the increased sensitivity they get will be considered too much information for the scientists who were supposed to be analyzing it. Why did you do this? It was already hard. It was already a lot of information. You gave us, we didn't need more.
Always more data.
We always need more. Always need more. New waves of variants will be met by a robust response of new vaccines. An increased portion of the world's population will be vaccinated, but only because the portion of the population that refuses the jab keeps mysteriously shrinking. Also, it's not a mystery. They're dying of COVID. 2022 was the year when everyone stops putting up with willful idiots. Nowhere is this new attitude more dramatically apparent than in the airline industry, where they begin removing unruly passengers at altitude. 2022, a group of NASA scientists conducting experiments in search of a potential deep space cryogenic state will accidentally discover that, in large enough quantities, tardigrades taste absolutely delicious. While only a fad diet item in 2022, many tardigrade farms spring up around the world and genetic modification programs begin to increase their size. In the coming decade, to reach the size of a small pig, Brazil races to reforest the Amazon in order to provide enough feeding grounds for the new meat staple. Situation seems to be a win. For the food chain, the carbon sequestration, everything's going good until the tardigrades are discovered to be capable predators and soon are stalking the Amazonian rivers, jungles, and the coastline of Brazil in search of human flesh. It is said they prefer vegetarians. When media reports that a large...
This is tardigrades and not nutria?
This is tardigrades.
We already have rodents of unusual size that, yeah.
Oh, no, those are going to get... That's the first thing to go. They can get into the tardigrade enclosures, and that's when they start like learning how to Move up the food chain. Media reports a large comet has been spotted hurtling towards the Earth with near certainty of a direct impact. Most people write it off thinking, I've already seen the show. While the rest ingest a topical antifungal cream meant to treat hog's feet in order to divert the comet's path. Because it's a logical step you can make. A guy named Dave is going to discover that his cat's not only been secretly accessing his computer, but reporting on his daily activities to other cats in the neighborhood, who have in turn shared pictures of Dave with still more cats. By the end of 2022, cats all over the world were going to recognize a meme of Dave, who they refer to as the grumpy ape. With the non-binding commitments of COP26 meeting no longer remembered, delegates of various glitterati from around the world will look forward to making performative statements on climate during COP27 in November. And the year 2022 is the year we discovered that we really, really, really should have been listening to Justin way back when and just taking a few months off from everything.
Yeah, we know that. We all know that already.
We know that, but this is everyone.
Everyone.
That guy had the answer.
Too late now.
Taken a couple months off.
Too late now. Animal reservoirs.
Can't go backwards.
Pockets. Can't go
But
backwards.
it's okay. We're fine.
We're fine.
We're fine.
It's totally fine.
Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. All right, Blair. What are your predictions?
I predict that humans will create a new, stronger material modeled after spider silk, but it still won't be better than the real thing.
Even better than the real thing.
No, never. Tardigrades will do something weird. Gotta say that.
Every year. Yes.
Every year. And so far, they have rarely let me down. The world will declare the end of the pandemic just in time for a new one. Sorry. A new nightmare-inducing deep-sea fish will be discovered.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I like that.
In human origins, a new out-of-Antarctica theory will surface. The Webb telescope, sorry everyone, will break in some way.
Blair, no.
Oh.
No.
Hey,
Something will break.
No, that's fantastic because we've been saying the worst is behind us with this pandemic. We've learned jinxing ourselves happens. So Blair saying that is not a jinx. A jinx would be if somebody said, James Webb telescope, everything's going to...
Yeah. I'm saying break a
I
leg.
won't do it, but you get the idea. It's a break a leg.
Yeah, it's a break a leg. Next, a millionaire or billionaire will have their ashes scattered in space.
Is it going to be
That hasn't happened yet?
Wait.
I
like this one. I like this one because it can happen on one of the joy rides.
Yeah.
That would count.
Yeah.
So I guess having the ashes scattered in space also would be different from just sending things up in a cube, sending the ashes up in a CubeSat.
Right. You gotta use the clamps, open it up, scattered, or do a spacewalk. I don't know. Just add to the trash, why not?
Yeah.
Crows will reveal that they have understood everything we've said this whole time.
I believe it.
Don't forget.
No.
Nope.
Well, we haven't said that much negative about the crows. It could be
We've
worse.
just done a lot of bad stuff for Mother Nature in general, I think. But anyway.
Always be nice to the crows.
Mammoth cloning, to my chagrin, will move to the next stage. They will attempt to make a viable blastocyst, but it won't work.
I think that'll happen this year. That's a great prediction. I want to see it.
And I have to do a pop culture one. Baby Yoda will return in The Mandalorian, but he will return as Teen Yoda. He'll be a rude dude. Teen Yoda.
Man.
And very last, we'll see about this. I'm just kind of putting some positive vibes out there. TWIS will return to the stage at a live show.
Ooh, in 2022?
Maybe.
Right.
If we really get our stuff together, it's possible.
Yeah, okay.
It could be December. I don't care. I'm just saying, maybe.
I have to be able to actually leave my house first.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. and not wear masks on stage and not have to cancel at the last minute. And
Yeah.
but I'm just putting the positive vibes out
I like
there.
it. I like positive vibes.
Yeah.
I
A lot of
really
negative
do.
vibes in my predictions, but that one's a positive vibe. There you go.
It
I
is
just need a heads up because I'm gonna need pants. I haven't had. I just got rid of all the pants because I was like, I won't need these anymore.
Pants. What are they?
I mean, we'll just make sure there's a nice drop cloth on our table that we speak at the live show, and then no one will see your pants. It's fine.
We have to rush them in. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Thank you, Blair. I love that. Okay. Things to aspire to in 2022. Okay. I've got predictions as well. My predictions for this year. The virus causing COVID-19 will mutate further due to further vaccination difficulties, leading people to wonder if they ever really did have a life before the pandemic, or if it was just a fever dream. What is the life anyway? However, pandemic waves, they keep surfing. They will be less and less concerning as new mRNA booster shots, updated based on the mutagenesis of the virus, will become available before year's end. I think Pfizer's already working on something. But there will be new boosters. They'll keep us going. Our gravitational wave detectors. Did you know there are 4 of them now? 4. Our gravitational wave detectors are going to detect more gravitational waves this year. Yes. The LHC, see, that's another one. I'm going out on a limb with that prediction. Really pushing it.
Is this why your predictions are always so good?
Yeah.
The vagaries. Is just...
Well, last time she nailed a bunch of what the goal was going to be by the year. You had some very good specifics last year.
Yeah, okay, that one's a vague one. The LHC will once again provide support for the standard model, even as other experiments like Muon G2 try to escape its clutches. Standard models continue to dominate. LHC is going to bring it. We will see SpaceX's Starship successfully reaching orbit in 2022. I think that is going to happen very soon. And actually, based on a story I read right before the show, I'm going to adjust my prediction for the NASA SLS. I said the NASA SLS will see further delays, and it was reported just today that it's going to be pushed. Its launch is going to be pushed until like June or something like that, or its test is going to be pushed like 6 months. So the delays are already happening. So I was going to say that it was going to reach orbit in 2022, but I cancel that. I just know SLS is not going to get off the ground in 2022. So I'm changing that. Yeah. So I have to type that in. And will not get off the ground. There we go. I have edited as on the fly. The JWST space telescope. I got a JWST necklace for Christmas. It's so fun. Will continue its trip to L2 and return images before the end of the year that wow and astound the world. See, going out on a limb there. I'm doing the opposite of you, though. With the positivity.
I like this. One of you is probably going to be right.
Listen, we could both be right. Just because something breaks doesn't mean it doesn't still work.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Although it's very
okay.
hard to
Wait.
that far out.
Then I'll make a prediction. I want to fit one in here in the middle of that, which is that everything opens, nothing breaks, but they get no images.
Mm.
I'm going to go right down the middle.
The lens cap is on.
Everything works. Yeah, they left the lens cap on. Oh, we forgot to take off the camera lens.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's one of those little. It's just the little flip up one too. The privacy.
Everything's
one
fuzzy. The person who calibrated
webcam.
it didn't have their glasses on.
They forgot their readers that day. Just slightly fuzzy.
But they have images, but you have to wear readers, otherwise you can't make any sense.
Scientists will continue to become better communicators of their science, finally understanding that people have trust issues. But politicians will continue to use facts any old way they darn well please. what I predict. Unless social media is regulated this year, we will continue to see a growing distrust in science. I think it's going to continue to grow. Going to be bad. So anyway, NASA's DART mission is going to crash into Dimorphos, the asteroid moonlet of Didymus. It's going to happen in the fall, and we will be so excited. We'll rejoice at the successful crashing of a spacecraft. It's a high-impact science mission on many counts, right? But we're going to be saddened because the craft will be gently cradled and enveloped by the soft, dusty exterior of the moonlet's surface rather than moving the space rock in its orbit.
So there's a possibility of that, because it could be gravel.
Right.
You know, it could be. How
do you move something that's just like an amalgamation, an agglomeration?
Yeah.
We will continue to be depressed rather than inspired by Justin's good news stories.
I'm going to ruin that one today because I've got a just good news story now today.
Artificial intelligence will be trained on reality in virtual reality designed by other AIs.
Oh no. It's a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, so instead of AI being trained on data sets produced by people, it's going to be data sets it's not really reality, it's in virtual reality that's synthetically created by other artificial AIs. And anyway, yes, the Ouroboros. And artificial intelligence will design a synthetic biological life form.
Ooh.
That'll be fun.
That'll either be awesome or terrifying.
TWIS will welcome a new member to the family.
Oh yeah, it will.
Justin's like, what?
Maybe soon. What?
Oh my God, somebody else is doing it. Yeah, no. Yes, yeah. I got a Bambanini on the way.
Yes, Justin has a Bambanino on the way.
I will be missing a show sometime in the next few weeks. Don't know when.
And yeah, that's all right. We'll let you go. It's a good reason. And once again, TWIS will continue to bring you science news throughout the year. So thank you for joining us on this adventure. And we do hope that you hold us to these predictions, help us keep track throughout the year, if you remember. But it should be a fun year to come. Whew. This is This Week in Science, and it is time for us to move forward through this new year. If you are enjoying the show, please do head over to twis.org and click on our Patreon link to support the show. We are supported by listeners and viewers just like you. We really can't do this without you. Thank you for your support. So let's come on back and dive in to the science that we all know and love. Wah! We do love the science, so let's get with it. I would like to start the show with the tale of a Schrodinger's tardigrade. Schrodinger's tardigrade. So it's like a cat in the box. Is it alive or is it dead? Right? Is the tardigrade? Is the tardigrade resonating with a qubit or is it not? Quantum entanglement throughout the years has always worked on non-living inanimate objects. And there have been just atomic-sized objects all the way up to larger objects, but inanimate, not living biological being. So at the end of 2021, there was an article published in the archive.org. This is a preprint. It hasn't been peer-reviewed yet or published in a peer-reviewed journal. So as at this current time, it is undergoing scrutiny by the public, by the scientific community, and it will be at some point probably submitted for publication, but not yet. But what's at issue? They took tardigrades, water bears, and knowing that they can go dormant, lose all their water, and turn into their little ton state. The ton state is where they're just dormant.
They're like a little barrel.
Yeah, and you can reanimate them. Take the water away, and they could be dead. I don't know. You add the water back. Oh, look, they're alive. Totally happy little tardigrades. And we
and
think that
can be exposed to extreme temperature in that state too.
exactly. And that's the whole point. So for quantum entanglement experiments, they take place at pretty much absolute zero, as close to it as we can get. So the really, really cold situations, or using superconductors to make them work. And so in this particular experiment, they took a dehydrated tardigrade and they stuck it on a qubit and chilled it to absolute zero, and then they made the qubit vibrate and checked to see if the tardigrade was vibrating, and oh look, vibrating at the same rate. So they basically, was it a 0 or was it a 1? Was it a 0 or was it a 1? Could they go halfway in between? Oh yes, they could. And so their experiments did show that there was some resonance with the qubit that was involved. However, this resonance could not specifically be entanglement itself, but some other artifact of the experiment. And that's what people are trying to figure out at this point. Now, is this quantum biology? Is this like the first instance of entanglement with a macro scale, even though tardigrades are kind of micro scale, but biological living organism?
It's macro to what they've usually,
right, compared to a qubit. Not really. It wasn't really because we don't really know if it was entanglement for sure. But what the one thing that is for certain is that they took tardigrades down to near absolute zero for several days and then reanimated them. And one of the tardigrades lived. So this is a big deal. This
one of them.
Water bears, I mean, absolute zero. You're talking about the cold reaches of space, right? So all of these extreme states that tardigrades can persist through makes you wonder, could we send tardigrades to Mars? I don't know.
That's where they came from, Kiki.
Here's the thing about space. At least if you're near a star, you get out of the atmosphere, protection, all that. You're bombarded with extreme heat and extreme cold. You can burn up, or you can freeze to death, or you can actually do both if you're in the wrong place. The fact that these water bears, these tardigrades, can survive both extremes is very intense. They can also handle the high heat. I don't know if we were talking about that at all, but they can handle the really high heat as well. So yeah, this is tardigrades in space. This is our new space explorer. And
yeah, exactly. Tardigrades in space. That's the TV show I need in my life.
Yes.
With them walking like insects 500,000 times their size.
So there you go. Tardigrades did something weird at the end of the year.
Dun, dun, dun. You win on that one, Blair.
It was more like we did something weird with tardigrades, but I'll take it.
We did something weird. That's exactly. It's the other way around. But who knew they really can withstand very, very cold temperatures. That ton state, it can withstand a whole lot. Yeah. So it's still to be, we'll see where they go with it, whether or not they'll redo some of these experiments, try some other stuff to check on that quantum entanglement aspect. But funny quantum experiments with tardigrades. Funny physics experiments. Justin, what you got?
Oh, that's a great question. Just good news. I've got a just good news segment. How do you like that? And it's just going to be good news. It's a new segment that looks for only the very best good news in science and sometimes finds it. This is the Fish Technology Edition. Team of Israeli researchers taught goldfish to pilot a tiny land vehicle. In their paper published in the journal Behavioral Brain Research, the group describes how the fish were taught to use it and the navigational skills they displayed while driving around. So there has been apparently some prior research that has been talked about on the show. I think I missed that show or I missed that story. I just don't remember it. That rats were given little rat cars and were able to drive them around to their desired destinations. In this new study, the researchers built a fishmobile to see if fish could do the same. So they got these, they put goldfish in there. And they want to know if they could do something called domain transfer methodology. So basically, it's where the creature applies one set of navigational skills to multiple environments. So they built a small fish tank mounted on a wheeled frame. We got some images up there for the on the YouTubes live show there. They fitted the fishmobile with a pole-mounted camera, processor, and a LiDAR. So basically, it points down at the fish and it looks where is the fish swimming in this tank. And then, of course, relates that to the wheels of the vehicle. So how the fish is swimming, where it's pointing, and what direction it wants to seem to go, the vehicle will travel that way. Okay, so now you got this fish in this little fish tank mobile, and the researchers just allowed the fish to meander around and drive around for a while. But they weren't done. Next, they added targets for the fish. If the fish reached where it was supposed to go, it got a little fish treat. Over time, the researchers found that the fish came to understand that their actions could impact the movement of the fishmobile in ways that led them to the tasty reward. Then the team changed the environment. They just took them outside, let them drive around town. The fish drove both indoors and outdoor arenas. They had changing targets and obstacles. And over time, they found the fish had no problem adapting. They drove straight for their reward, demonstrating their ability to operate the vehicle to the desired location.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love this. You can lead you can lead a fish to water and you can teach him to drive. I mean,
Gordon McLeod, this is ridiculous and I love it. Yeah, me too. This is already my favorite story of all of 2022. Don't need to hear anymore.
Now come on, Mr. Fish.
So good.
You got to put your fins at 10 and 2, Mr. Fish.
We're done for this year,
right?
Goldfish
in a fish tank mobile and taught it to drive. Now, here's the thing. I think I would like now to see goldfish races. See what, you get the souped up fishmobile tanks and then you pit your fish against the other guy's fish and then people can bet on it. And I think this is is a future sport that needs to.
There is no way these researchers didn't do that. There is no way. When the research was done, they were done with the technology. They didn't need the equipment anymore. There is no way they didn't do this the last night before they shut down their research lab. There's no way.
Because they had multiples. You're right. They had multiple fish tank mobiles. It wasn't just one fish that they trained. They trained multiple fish.
They absolutely
had multiple vehicles.
I'm imagining, like at UC Davis on their picnic day every year, there is the Dachshund race where they have the little Dachshunds they have to run across, and people are at the end going, come here, trying to get their dogs to come. This next season, maybe it'll be goldfish.
Yes. I love it.
Come on, this is robotics engineering and animal behavior. You could do cross-disciplinary teams. I love it. Oh my God. I actually would like a racing fish. I think that would be.
Somebody in the chat room is asking. Sarah Fuziel is asking. So the goldfish 5-second memory is now a myth busted. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Totally busted.
Yeah, and there's been other research on that too that has absolutely destroyed that theory. Which, not a lot of animals could live very long if they only had a 5-second memory.
Yeah, I think that is a hugely accurate point. Not a lot of animals could live if there was too much UV radiation on the planet either. Yeah. Some researchers were just publishing their research in the Royal Society Open Science, a revised lower estimate of ozone columns during Earth's oxygenated history was published this last week. The researchers were looking into historic levels of ozone as compared to oxygen levels, as ozone is known to be an issue with respect to absorbing or blocking UV radiation. And the more oxygen there is, the more that ozone can become a part of the atmosphere. And so 2.4 billion years ago, there wasn't a lot of oxygen on the planet, right? There was not a lot of oxygen until the great oxygenation event, at which point that allowed
Killed
a
everything.
lot. Yeah, it changed everything. It allowed everything to grow. But to that
Well,
point,
it killed everything that was there first, because there was stuff that was living on the non-oxygen environment. There was like, oh, here's life on this nitrogen or whatever atmosphere planet. Perfect. Oh, we love it. This is fine. And then oxygen came in. It was like the first extinction event.
right, because all of the anaerobic stuff no longer could be there. Oops, I'm putting things up on the wrong image thingies. Image thingies. Let me get back to the image thingies. Because, hey, Rachel, I hope you edit this part out. Okay. Right. So, over our planet's history from their assessment, there are these different points over time at which the earliest life made way for later life gave way to more complex life, and this all was to do with how much of the atmosphere was filled with oxygen. But the other part of this is that there was a lot of um, ozone as well, and that ozone has increased over time. So what we know is that as that ozone has puffed up and increased in the atmosphere, it's also allowed for more filtering of ultraviolet radiation, which is damaging. So it means that early on, before the great oxygenation event, there would have been a lot less ozone present, so that it wouldn't have been as available. There wouldn't have been a hole in the ozone layer, allowing for there would have been a big hole in the ozone layer,
Would have
really.
been all big hole. Yeah.
Allowing for that radiation to come through.
Interesting.
Right.
So then that would have been a limiting factor on life starting even sooner
Exactly.
on the planet.
Yes.
Even sooner than.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but even sooner, because it's like, what's the earliest life detectors? Like, what was that? 3 billion years ago or something like that? 4 billion years.
At least maybe, depending on the data that we're looking at, but at least 2.5 billion years ago.
Bombs, they have data that maybe that's life, kind of a thing, is around that. But if there was this major limiting factor, the ozone not having been in place, then this just kind of boggles the mind, because you think, well, what if that just happened to have been in place already? How much sooner would life have just, how like inevitable is life at some point?
And so maybe it didn't, and what the researchers say is that while the elevated amounts of UV radiation wouldn't prevent life's emergence or evolution, it would have acted as a selection pressure, with organisms better able to cope with greater amounts of UV radiation receiving an advantage. So it would have been harder because of the radiation factor to get started, but those that did would have been really good at managing radiation. So how did that influence the life that was yet to come? And how did those early conditions influence the overall evolution of life? Even, how is it impacting us even now as we have more ozone? Or maybe we'll be looking at reduced amounts of ozone in certain parts of the atmosphere, thanks to things like ozone destroying CFCs and other compounds.
But I guess they got to bump up the UV in any of those early muck experiments where they're like, here's the ingredients that were there on the early Earth. Here's the conditions. Now you got to leave the UV light on in the lab a little longer.
Yeah. And so the big
not just to sanitize, but to actually hit your experiment with it.
And the big take home from this, though, is that researchers thought at one point, this specific study, what they found is that researchers used to think that the ozone layer was able to shield life from harmful radiation when there was about 1% of oxygen in the atmosphere relative to the present atmospheric level. But now they think that because of this modeling, the level of oxygen needed may have been about 5 to 10% of present atmospheric levels, so a lot higher than it was. So they needed that oxygen. We needed it to get things moving. Yeah. All right. Is it time for us to run a race, Justin? Are we going fast enough on this show?
Okay, yeah, we're almost there. We're getting right up to our time limit there in another 20-something minutes. But it turns out this is a fun fact that was discovered by science recently here. Amputees and people born without legs have a significant disadvantage in a foot race with elite athletes who have their legs intact. Again, amputees or people who were born without legs, not as good at running as people who have their legs, elite athletes who have their legs intact. This is according to University of Colorado Boulder research published in the Royal Society Open Science. So that seems like it should just be obvious to some. However, it was not clear to the Olympic Committee that ruled that the world's fastest 400-meter sprinter, Blake Leeper, could not compete in Tokyo because he happened to be born without legs. Despite his track times being the fastest, Leeper was ruled ineligible to compete because it was assumed his running prostheses gave him an unfair advantage compared to sprinters with fully biological legs.
Man, I would think it would make things way harder.
Right. Well, so that's what this
modern prostheses, maybe they have a bounce to them, or maybe there's something to them. So go ahead, Justin.
But just like,
tell us.
Getting good at using them, I feel like is an extra skill, right?
Extra skill for sure.
Yeah,
but is it an advantage? So they compared performance data from Leeper and the South African Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius and up to 6 other bilateral amputee sprinters with those of the best non-amputee sprinters in the world across 5 performance metrics. And the research found in all of those metrics, no advantage. Actually, a significant disadvantage to using the prosthetics. On the treadmill and track, researchers measured acceleration out of the starting blocks, maximum speed along straightaways, around curves, velocity at aerobic capacity, and sprint endurance. They took the top metrics from all available data from elite bilateral amputees and compared them to the top metrics for the non-amputees. Athletes using prosthesis were 40% slower out of the starting blocks, had 19% slower velocity at aerobic capacity, and were 1 to 3% slower around curves compared to the non-amputees. This is quoting Paula Taboga, an assistant professor of kinesiology. It's the movementology.
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology. Thank you, pronunciation coach. At the California State University, Sacramento. To our knowledge, it's the first study to really address all the parts of the race and put it all together. Still, we found no advantage. Interestingly, the authors had presented their preliminary results to the Court of Arbitration for Sport in 2020, but the court still ruled that Leeper could not participate in the World Athletics sanctioned events, including the Olympics, because his prosthesis made him too tall. Now, have you ever heard of that? A height limit on athletes?
I mean, I guess
this feels like
height has to do with leg span, so how far they can move?
Previous study published in the journal PLOS One had found that height makes no difference when it comes to maximum sprinting speed.
Okay.
So
All right.
researchers said they hope publication of their new study in a peer-reviewed journal, allowing for anybody to try to poke holes in it and what have you, might nudge the world athletics to take a closer look at its policies and help the rest of the world form a more informed opinion. My guess would be if like two of the fastest sprinters are using prosthetics, that there could be an advantage. But the advantage might be that you are training every day in every movement, as opposed to somebody who can be simply walking around. Like that the act of walking might equal that of training. So then is that an unfair advantage that you're training all the time, that you're training harder? That doesn't sound like an advantage. That sounds like you working harder for it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what the harm is. The harm is that you're going to have legacies not win, I guess, or there's an idea of what an Olympian athlete is supposed to. I don't know. It seems based in something weird to me. Like what? I don't know. I'm having trouble putting into words, but it just kind of feels like this is something where I don't understand where the fear is coming from, I guess.
A fear of technology enhancement. I mean, we're especially now in a time where prosthetics could, or drugs, or what, there are lots of things that people are potentially using to give themselves an edge or an enhancement, and there's potentially that fear because there's a misunderstanding, obviously, of what the technologies are that people are using to just allow them to be there in the first place. Right. I mean, when you're having discussions about, the material that is used in a swimmer's, in a swimmer's swimsuit, for instance, whether or not that material gives people an advantage because it repels water. I'm not surprised they're having these conversations, but I think that it's probably, I mean, these people, they know the sports, but they don't necessarily know the technologies and the issues of people who are working really hard to overcome disability to be able to get where they are.
And as I've said in the past, I'm actually for juicing, as it were, in sport.
Let's go for it. Let's take it.
Well,
people
do it. Then you can do it safer. I mean, there's this whole idea that you're trying to limit everything, like people doing the combine in football when they're trying out. They do this test for the athletes to see how fast they can run and how high they can jump and all these sort of metrics so that people can judge their athleticism. If you wear the wrong shoes, you can't practice in the event. They have very specific shoes you have to wear for this event, very specific ones. They try to narrow it down just to the physicality of the person. But at this point, you know what? Their parents were an athlete. Both their parents were athletes. Okay, well, that's an unfair advantage. What's a fair advantage? What's an unfair advantage? Wear the best shoes. Wear the fastest shoes. There's
so much. Yeah.
I think you just go for it and see who can go the fastest on whatever shoes or feet they have on.
How can you get to be the fastest if that's what your thing is? Yeah.
Totally.
Go.
And now it is time for us to move into the segment of the show that we know and love, Blair's Animal Corner.
With Blair.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't turn my volume on. Hold on. Let me go back. Do, 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 do.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. If you want to hear about animals, she's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
What you got, Blair?
Mom.
Oh no. Oh no.
Do you think you could tell your baby's cry, your baby's voice after 2 days? 2 days after giving birth. Do you think you could differentiate?
Oh.
Justin, you're about to experience this yourself.
I can run the test, I guess.
Yeah, do you think after 2 days you'd be able to tell your baby from all other babies?
Ooh, after 2 days. That's a good.
Yes.
Because definitely
So Kiki
with some
says
time.
yes.
Definitely with, there's I don't know. I don't know when it happens, but there's a point when you can hear a baby cry, or just one time I saw my child's foot. It was nap time and I had to pick him up a little early from the daycare. And I saw this little foot stick up, and that's all I could see. I had this sea of kids, this little foot that stuck up. And I was like, that's where my kid is. Because I could recognize his little hobbit foot,
Yeah, so
but at 2 days, I would say probably not.
So there's a lot that goes into biologically us being able to tell our baby from other babies, because as mammals, our babies are, well, as humans, our babies are born pretty helpless and useless and just they're kind of lumps, right? And so they need to be taken care of for everything. And so this is something that we have pretty much in common with elephant seals. Their babies need a lot of TLC. They need to be fed constantly. They are mammals. They need to drink milk, all the good stuff. And so University of California's Institute of Marine Sciences, along with Institut des Neurosciences, Paris-Saclay, and Université de Lyon, have found that mother elephant seals are able to distinguish their pups' voices after 2 days post-giving birth. Just 2 days they can tell their own baby's voices. Elephant seal colonies, if you've ever visited one, especially right after all the pups are born, they're so loud. They are so loud. They are so loud that it would be inconceivable that mothers could hear their own pup and decipher their own pup's voice amongst all of the other sounds going on. And so researchers wondered how mothers communicated with their babies amid all of this cacophony. And they also wondered why something very specific happens with elephant seals, that some new mothers will sometimes nurse pups that are not theirs. And so there was a question about whether can they tell their pups apart? Maybe they can't. Maybe that's why they're allowing other pups to nurse from them. This was kind of their attempt to figure out what's going on with the dynamics of all these pups in a big pile on the beach. And so they set up microphones near and amid the elephant seals in Southern California. They also set up remote speakers, and then they played pup calls at different times to see how the mothers responded. And they found that the mothers were able to recognize the calls made by their own offspring just 2 days after giving birth. And that recognition ability, they found, was strong enough to allow the mothers to distinguish between calls from their own pups and those from pups nearby. So even if they were physically nearby or if they were birthed nearby, they could tell this one is mine. They also noted that while nursing, the mothers fasted, and so they lose up to half of their body weight before pups start eating solid food. And so that high cost, it would make sense that they'd only want to feed their own babies, because that is a pretty big sacrifice. So why then do they let other pups feed from them? Well, unfortunately, the research teams have not figured that out yet. That's definitely what they're still looking for in the future with this research on elephant seals. They think one potential thought is that because elephant seals were nearly wiped out by humans in the 1800s, they had a really extreme genetic bottleneck. And so pretty much all elephant seals are pretty closely related. So there is a question about whether they nurse other pups because they are genetically similar. There's a genetic advantage to doing that. And so that might be kind of a biologically driven reason, but there also might be the ability that since they're genetically similar, the mothers might get confused by scent or sound or something else related to the babies. But for the most part, it would appear that 2 days after giving birth, they can tell their babies apart. So we might think
Aw,
all baby
good
elephant seals look the
mums.
same, but they don't.
And if they don't, then they lose their child forever or roll over on them.
Right. So everyone listening, if you are not driving, I suggest you take a quick elephant seal pup break. You type those 3 words into Google Images, elephant seal pup, because I know most people are probably very familiar with the way an elephant seal looks with the giant proboscis, the male. He's big and crazy looking. But elephant seal pups, I think, are some of the cutest marine mammals on the planet.
They are so cute.
They have these huge flat eyes, and without getting too far into elephant seal nerdiness, that's because they dive really, really, really deep for very long periods of time. And so that allows their eyes to withstand the pressure of going very deep underwater, and their eyes don't implode like ours would if we went that deep. Yikes. Anyway.
And it's not until later that their noses grow so much larger.
Yes, and only if they're males.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so that's my elephant seal story. Moving on, I'll talk about crow tools. New Caledonian crows and their tools.
We love these crows.
We talk about a lot.
These crows are so smart.
They're so smart. They're so special. Yeah. They are studied constantly because of their propensity to make tools and store tools and differentiate tools. And so this study from University of St. Andrews and the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Konstanz, Germany, have found that crows are more likely to store complex and efficient foring tools rather than their basic ones. So they have favorite tools and they take care of them differently than their basic tools. They use different types of tools for extracting food from tree holes and other spots. And they will sometimes firmly hold those tools in their foot against a log where they're standing, and sometimes they'll put them in little crevices or holes in the log that they're standing on for later use whenever they're not in their beak. So they hold it with their beak to do the individual foraging, and then they have to put it down to actually eat. And so again, they're either holding it with their foot or they're inserting them into a hole or inside a crevice and bark or something like that. So they have these 2 different strategies for storing their tools. And so through this study, they found that they are more likely to keep valuable tools between their toes or in a crevice than the basic ones. So they have these kind of 2 different types of tools that they'll make and use. They have hooked tools and non-hooked tools. The hooked tools are painstakingly crafted. They take a lot of time and care to make them, and they come from scarce plant species. And then the other ones, the non-hooked tools are basically just twigs they found on the ground and they do nothing to. So they can in fact extract prey up to 10 times faster with the hooked tools than with the plain ones. So they are high value items. And so they are in fact going to keep better care of those tools than others, which means that they have a conception of relative value, which I'm not surprised to hear, but it is something that we haven't really talked about.
So this actually fits interestingly with my idea, at least, of how the earliest of humans, Homo habilis, maybe even, came away we stopped climbing trees and started developing that opposable thumb strength. Is you because they had tools, they had stone tools. If you made a good one, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to put it down to the ground, have it mix in with the other rocks or whatever. So you hold on to it. So now this hand is occupied. Right? Now it's harder to climb around. And now what are you going to do? You're going to make more tools. And now you can't do the knuckle walking as much because you got to hold this thing. So that's worth getting upright. That value, once you've become a tool creator of that tool, changes the way you behave and interact. Then very interesting to see this very cool study.
Yeah, and it's interesting, number one, because not all of the New Caledonian crows do pick up the tool creation. There are some that are better at it than others. So it's interesting also that they have these preferences for, this is my favorite one and I'm going to take care of it. I'd love to know whether or not they let, they keep them safeguarded, but do they make sure that other birds can't take their tools from them?
That's a great question. I want to know more about when they use which strategies to store them. And if they have an absolute favorite, they love this one hook stick. Do they not ever put it fully down? Do they only put it in under their foot? Like, nope,
I'm going to keep it with me all the time.
Yeah. Or does the preference change from crow to crow about how they stored their tools? Or,
it's like having a hair pick in your back pocket.
Yes.
I'm fascinated with your take, Kiki, your question. I want to know what is the Caledonian crows? Now we know that there's how intelligent they are and how they have tool preferences. Do they have ethics? Do they try to steal somebody else's nice tool? Do they share it? Do they get upset if somebody has taken their tool and they come back and then they see the tool? Do they recognize that the other bird's using their tool? Or are they just so ethical? It's like, oh no, that's not mine. I won't mess with it. I'll go make my own. Now I have all these questions.
Yeah,
so many questions.
Lots of questions to be answered related to this. The researchers also think that this could provide innovative ways to measure how different animals value different tools. So thinking about chimpanzees, other apes, other birds. I was thinking about the cockatoos we talked about just a couple weeks ago about the how they had the sequencing of their tool use. So do they have favorites in that? How do they store those tools? They just let them drop to the ground. I would love to know more across tool use in the animal kingdom and how they take care of those tools.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Just all the cognitive processes around it. Having looked at the preferences for food themselves, how some birds like certain food types better than others, now we're taking it the next step. Now they have preferences on the tools to access their preferential food types. And so it just goes deep down this rabbit hole that's all related to food.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also it's a sign of intelligence when evolution has been too slow. You've picked a food that your beak can't access in this case. So directly. So now evolution's too slow. I'm not going to wait around for a long, narrow becking thing to happen and brain shocks like a woodpecker would need or whatever. I'm just going to make a tool so I can do it now. And that's what a lot of tool use is. It's
my beak is like my hand, and I'm going to use my hand to hold this tool to do something else.
Because I've changed the food source way ahead of evolution, way ahead of that slow progress. I'm going to do it myself. That's true intelligence. I like it.
I can't. All the studies on these crows, I love them so much. I want more New Caledonian crow stories in 2022.
Guaranteed.
Crows. More crows. I have an animal study. Bears.
Oh, yes. I saw this one.
Bears. Oh, the bears. Poor bears.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, they dig into garbage from humans and they eat our cast off food. Also, hunters put out piles of human junk food for the bears to come across during hunting season so that the bears will come to a site where the hunters can then hunt them. Researchers wanted to find out how the impact of human food, what human food does to the microbial flora of bear guts is the big question. And bottom line is human food makes bear guts more like human guts. It reduces microbial diversity. And so the question now that the researchers would like to figure out, they don't have the answer to this yet, but the question is, how does this affect the bears when they go back to eat more bear-like food? So if they spent a whole bunch of time around human colonization areas, eating a lot of human food to the point where it reduces the microbial diversity to a point that they're maybe not able to digest more complex food types, too many Twinkies, and you are not going to be able to digest that kale very easily. So if they get to a point, how hard is it going to be on them to get the nutrition that they need from more normal bear diets? How does human food overall impact bear health, reproduction, ability to make it through the winter, as they feed on the food that humans give them?
How does that affect us and all of those things? We know that over-processed food does all of that to us as well.
Yeah. It's not so great. Oh, these bare necessities.
Yes.
The bare necessities of life are just don't give the bears food, okay?
No.
It's not cute. Don't feed the wild
Well,
animals.
and also follow all the rules on how to store your food when you are camping in a park where there are bears. Don't leave food in your car. Don't leave it in your tent. Use a bear locker or hang it in a tree.
Yeah. And if you're interested in how the researchers got their data on the microbial flora of bear guts,
Poop?
No, not from poop. They actually got to know hunters, and the researchers went with hunters and removed food from the midgut after the bears had been hunted.
Ooh.
So this is actually mid-digestion material, not affected by the external environment as poop would be. And I guess on a final story note, we've got researchers at the BASE experiment, baryon anti-baryon symmetry experiment at the European Particle Physics Laboratory in CERN, who've been measuring antiprotons, they've got this antiproton that's confined in this electromagnetic trap, and they hold it there, and they're like, "Are you like a proton?" And they do measurements on it, and the antiproton is like, "Nope. Oh, yep, just like a proton." So far, the BASE experiment has found absolutely no differences between protons and antiprotons. They measured more than 24,000 oscillation comparisons of the antiproton, and that they mirror each other with a precision of 1.6 billionths of a percent. So the precision is getting higher, and the answer pretty much has stayed the same. Antiprotons interact with matter. I mean, not with matter, interact with other antiparticles. They have the same spins. They have the same interaction with gravity. Everything is the same. So why is there so much matter in our universe? We don't know. Questions for physics to answer as the LHC comes back online this year.
Yeah.
Which will be very exciting. It will be. Oh, that was my last story.
I need that prediction. No, I'm all out of stories too. I was going to predict it, but it's too late. But I was going to predict that we will find that most of the black holes in the universe are antimatter black holes.
Ooh.
And that's where all of it went. It's all in black holes. Because if it reacts just the same with gravity, there we go, right? Maybe.
Just got sucked in there. Well, it's either dark matter. Black holes are either dark matter or maybe antimatter, or maybe, who knows? There's so many ideas.
No anti-gravity antimatter.
I, though, am so excited because that means there's just so many questions to answer.
Yes.
We don't know so much. That means more news for us to report, right?
Yeah.
More things to
it's gonna
learn.
Be a fun year.
Whew. It's going to be a fun year. Hey, Blair, is next week your big week?
Oh, yes, that is next week. It's on Monday. I'm going to be on the Daily Tech News Show.
Yes.
Oh.
So if you are interested in catching Blair on another show, check out the Daily Tech News Show on Monday. She'll be talking about animals and technology.
As I always do.
Yes, something animal techy. So that will be a lot of fun. We hope that you have a good time. Say hello to the Daily Tech News Show team.
Oh, I
Roger,
certainly will.
Tom and Sarah, and have a really good time. They are always so fun to hang out with.
I love
And
to go and pretend I know things about technology.
you're like, ha, just
heard of
talk
that.
to me about animals and pop culture, and I'll say something like phone or computer every once in a while.
Yeah.
They haven't invited me back since I was on. I went on and I brought basically I brought all of my tech issues that I was having, devices that I was having issues with, and asked, how do I get rid of this thing in the corner of my screen? That's always, and that's I did the whole show.
Tech News Repair, Daily Tech Repair Show. No,
it's not IT.
The whole show turned into me trying to use them for IT help, and they haven't asked me back since.
I wonder why. Oh my goodness. So let's see, big things coming up this month. At some point in the next few weeks, there will be a Bambino in the TWIS family. We're excited about that, and we'll let you know when that happens. Blair is going to be hitting her 10-year anniversary, TWIS-a-versary.
Next week.
That is next week. Okay, next week. Woot, woot, woot. Blair's decade with TWIS. I wonder if we'll be able to get a retrospective in some sense. Let's see if we can make that happen. Could be fun. But it is time for us to finish this show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our first of the year for 2022. Can't wait to spend the rest of the year with all of you. We hope that you join us for many, many more shows. If you have any questions, send us science questions. We can try and answer them. We can do the best that we can. And we really hope you enjoyed listening and continue to listen and enjoy it. Shout outs to Fada. Thank you for your help on show notes and social media. I know that social media was a bug this week. Gord, Arnlore, et al., thank you for manning the chat room. Rachel, thank you for your assistance and for editing the show. And Identity 4, thank you for recording. And above all, I would like to thank our Patreon sponsors for their generous support of TWIS. Thank you to Richard Badge, Kent Northcote, Rick Loveman, Pierre Velazar, Ralphie Figueroa, John Ratnaswamy, Carl Kornfeld, Karen Tazi, Woody MS, Andrei Bissett, Chris Wozniak, Dave Bunn, Begard, Chefstad, Hal Snyder, Jonathan Stiles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, John Lee, Ali Coffin, Maddie Perrin, Gaurav Sharma, Don Mundus, Stephen Alberon, Dale Myshak, Stu Pollock, Andrew Swanson, Fredus 104, Sky Luke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Noodles Jack, Brian Carrington, Matt Bass, Sean and Nina Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Gene Tellier, Steve Leisman, aka Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Dana Pearson, Richard, Brendan Minish, Johnny Gridley, Kevin Railsback, Rummy Day, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, RDM, Greg Biggs, John Atwood, Hey Arizona, support Aaron Lieberman for governor, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul, Mallory Sutter, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Sarah Chavez, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, E.O., Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Steve DeBell, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Disney, David Simmerly, Patrick Pecoraro, Tony Steele, Ulysses Adkins, Jason Roberts. Thank you for all of your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, head over to twis.org and click on Patreon link on next week's show.
We will be back broadcasting live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time or Thursday, 5 a.m. Central European time on our YouTube and Facebook channels and from twis.org/live.
Hey, do you want to listen to us as a podcast? Maybe while you race goldfish in cars? Just search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe as well.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes and links to the stories will be available on our website, www.twis.org. You can also sign up for a newsletter.
You can also contact us directly. You can email Kirsten at kirsten@thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or me, Blair, at blairbaz@twist.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion.
You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at Jackson Fly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a...
Whew. It's cold in my basement. I'm putting my hat on. I'm cold. We have made it to the after show. Woo.
We did it.
We did do it.
We did.
Great prediction show. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Enjoyable time. Good science. Fishmobile. I mean, I don't know how we're going to top that story for the rest of the year.
Not.
I have to go back to it because, I mean, this video is just, hold on here.
So it reminded me of something, as many science stories do, from Futurama.
It's so great. Like, they let the fish drive around outside. Come on. I mean, I love, too, that the robotic setup has wheels, kind of like the Mars rovers, where it allows them to drive in any direction. That fish knew exactly where it wanted to go. Look at that. Boom! Reward.
So
I don't know. All of us are fish in some way.
Can I open image in new tab? That's what I want. Here. Window.
Yes, Daniel Yount. XY wheels.
I apologize. It's so small. Can I make it?
Right,
Why
Paul?
is it so small?
What?
It's a GIF, so it's like very.
Oh, it's tiny.
Hold on.
Can you get it? Oh, look at.
Hold on. Stop screen here.
Oh, thank you, Amori. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you were able to make it.
This one.
Time
Is that bigger?
zones.
That's bigger.
Drinks for everyone. Fetch. Ha 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 ha.
Where's the? I wish. Where's like a GIF of the whole scene? Oh, here we go.
A GIF of the whole scene? You mean like a clip?
Yeah, but I don't want to show a whole. There we go.
Oh.
There it is.
That's That was, I mean, basically, that's what we were looking at. We were looking at a
Yeah.
whole tank, scuba tank for
We certainly
fish.
were. Where's
I think I need a goldfish that I can train to answer the front door. And then when somebody comes and rings the doorbell, the
Here's
fish
this
will go
one.
answer it.
There we go. That's a better one. There he goes. That's a good boy.
Oh, good fish. You fetch that, you little fish. Fetching fish.
The
Is your
reverse scuba
fish
suit,
fetch?
I
No, it's
believe,
a
is what it was
fetching fish.
called. Reverse scuba suit.
It makes sense. It does make sense.
Oh, and the fish's name was Cinnamon. I was trying to remember the fish's name. Oh, Futurama. They really figured it all out. They really predicted a lot.
They did. Yeah, Futurama, I don't know if we've watched that with Kai yet. I think it might be almost time to watch Futurama with Kai.
Yeah. If he's still probably at the age where the really naughty stuff will go over his head.
Yes and no. He's starting to notice more jokes. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Last night we watched an SNL skit with him. And there was something in the skit, I don't remember exactly what it was, and it kind of went over his head, but then he like stopped for a second. He's like, "Wait a minute." And that, and that, and that, and that. And we're like, "Yep." It's like, ah.
Oh man. Well,
You can
because
put the pieces together.
If I'm about to hit
enough.
my 10th anniversary on the show, then he's 10.
Yeah, almost 11. Because you came in when he was like,
oh, that's right. You came in.
Remember, he was in like the circle thing with the wheels that he would like. He wasn't quite walking, but he
Not
was
quite.
like, yeah. Oh man, that was great.
The bouncer.
Yeah.
His isolation chamber.
Yes.
We've been doing this show for a little while, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes. And I did the other day. Oh, Stephen Rain gave us a joke. There we go.
Why did the fish blush? No fish.
Because it saw the ocean's bottom. Waka, 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 waka. That's good.
Nice one.
Thank you.
What
for
did
that,
the fish
Stephen
say
Rain.
when he ran into a stone wall?
Good night, Fada.
That's not what he said.
That's not the answer. That can't be the answer.
What was the answer?
What did the fish say when he ran into a stone wall? Damn.
I love jokes like that. They make
There you
me
go.
very happy. So simple, so entertaining.
I only have one joke, but you guys have already heard it.
Run out of womb?
No.
Two jokes.
What do you?
Two.
Oh yeah. Okay. What do you call a deer with no eyes?
It's still a deer? Oh.
No idea.
You jumped ahead, Blair. You remembered part of it. What do you call a deer with no eyes and no legs? Still no idea. That's it. That's all I got. Those are all of the jokes I can tell.
Dad jokes. It's dad jokes, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yep,
what did
this
the
is
shark
dad
say
joke
after eating a
segment.
clownfish? That tasted a bit funny.
I was going there.
Waka,
I was
waka,
almost
waka.
there.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. What do you call a fish with two legs? This is right up your alley, Justin. What do you call a fish with two legs?
I give up.
A toonie fish.
Tunny
fish.
fish.
There you go.
Okay. All right. This is starting to feel uneasy.
No, so let's see. 10th anniversary
Where the
of
show
Blair
is
next
headed.
we're
Yeah.
not headed. We're not going to the
We're
bad.
done now.
Yeah, and there's gonna be a first anniversary. I'm gonna have a first anniversary of my my new child, son soon. That's very exciting.
A first.
Don't know when though.
anniversary.
Don't
You
know
will have a
when.
0-aged child.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
I
exciting.
can't believe that. That's going to be so soon. So next week there might be a baby coming. 10th
Might be.
anniversary of Blair.
Mhm.
We're all officially old. Oh, we have a clip. Episode 564.
Oh.
What is this one?
Is this gonna be Goth Blair?
We've talked about Goth Blair. We know she exists. I feel like we could talk more about the substance rather than.
Yeah,
my
we
makeup.
could. We could. Okay, fair enough.
Oh,
Fair enough.
it's like 15 minutes.
Also,
Because
what's
do you
wrong
know
with
what
that?
time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for Blair's Animal Corner.
Oh my goodness.
564. This was, let's
Yeah, I
see.
should have been. Who's Blair?
Let's see.
I have some scientists doing some really, really important research.
That's cool.
That is
to
exactly
draw it out.
how stabby is a puff adder. Exactly how stabby is a woodpecker. Exactly how stabby is a mantis shrimp. This
I
is
want to
an
know.
important-
Mantis shrimp
Please
wins.
tell me there's a high-powered air gun involved.
So this is something I think the stabbiness
Who's
we're thinking
that?
of. This is something I've often wondered about when hummingbirds are fighting each other. Do they ever? Is it ever like jousting and they just?
I think
Oh,
so.
this is a great question. So, Philip Anderson from the University of Illinois teamed up with Jeffrey Lacoste of Charles E. Jordan High School in Durham, North Carolina, and Mark Pankow of North Carolina State University, Raleigh, to measure really stabbiness is the best way to describe it. It's how animals puncture things and what animals are the best, have the most force for puncturing things.
Mantis shrimp
So
wins.
they did this first.
Which ones? Which
Where's my
ones?
Pulitzer?
Really stabbiness. It's so great. I'll have to find more clips. I think at one point I was like, I'm going to make little clips. And I was like, that is too much work.
Uh-huh.
I'm not
That
going to make
tracks.
little clips anymore. There are some clips in some places. Okay. But we'll find something for next week. I think Arnlor said he might be throwing something together. If he's able to do that, that would be super cool. But no pressure. Only 10 years of clips.
Only.
Only.
I want to hear the one where Justin comes up with the name Blair's Animal House.
Blair's Animal House?
That's what you first called it. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was in our
Yeah.
trivia last year. Or this year. Because it was
The-
for episode
No,
800 or something.
It would have been for Christmas last year.
That was Christmas trivia, I thought. I thought I did a trivia
You did
for
we
episode 800 or something.
Yeah, that's right. Whenever that was. That wasn't
That
quite at Christmas.
was
But that was
not-
pretty late.
last year.
I
That's
don't
this year?
Or was it we decided it was the 20th anniversary or
What are we?
something?
What show are we on?
So 900 is going to take place this coming
Yeah.
fall on our Halloween show.
Okay,
We
but
can
we're
make it to 1,000.
Halloween
We
show
can
is our
make it.
900th anniversary.
We can make
We're
it
at
to 1,000. We're gonna make it.
You're like, we can do this. 1,000 episodes. Let's double up this year?
I'm not doing much this year.
You're not doing much. Okay.
I'm not
Yeah,
doing
only
much this year.
rearing a child.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Bad.
socially, I've canceled all of
your engagements.
all of the events I was going to, all the people I was going to get together with, all the hangout sessions, all the whatever, all of that's canceled. All that's
Everything's
done.
canceled.
Yeah, SF Sketchfest canceled.
Yeah, Sketchfest will be
Wow.
canceled. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's too bad.
Yeah, so I did it for the episode 800.
Oh, okay.
Which would have been early this year, I assume. Or last year, I guess, because this is a different year. Oh, it's a different year. I'm going to have to get used to this. Feels like the same year, though, in a lot of ways.
December 10th, 2020 is the last time I touched it.
Okay.
I don't know.
That goes right, because I initially thought it was right before Christmas last.
We did have trivia last Christmas that Blair did, but the 800, she did trivia.
So I did. Yeah.
Yep.
That seems weird. It looks like I did them 2 weeks apart.
Did you? No.
So,
or did you just prep it in advance and then do it on the show?
In advance. Oh, no. So episode 800 was November 18th, 2020. So a month later. So I did it a month apart. Still pretty close. That's it. So I asked how many countries we have listeners in. When did Justin join? What's Dr. Kiki's BS?
It's my
Let's
BS.
see. At what age did Justin found the Institute of Reason?
7.
What episode marked Blair's first appearance? It was 356, by the way.
356? Wow.
356. What is Dr. Kiki's PhD in? Where was Dr. Kiki born? Which of the following have been mentioned more times? Spiders, pandas, or squirrels? What was the original name for Blair's Animal Corner? Blair's Animal House.
Wow.
And my first reported story was the second week I was on the show. That's crazy. So January 19th, 2012. It's about eyes. I remember that because I was working in the primate department at the time. And I talked with the woman who was the keeper for the eyes that week.
Oh, the eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which of the following is not a TWIS short? Neurogaming, Blair's sperm update, do plants have memory, palcohol, shark smells, celebrate the octopus. And the answer was they're all TWIS shorts.
Oh, that was tricky.
It was a trick. Which of the following you've mentioned more times? Poop or brains? According to Kiki, according to her wiki, what year was TWIS founded? That was 1999. And that's the last one. That was the trivia that I made.
Dun, dun, dun.
There you go.
January, let's see. You're on camera, episode 354.
What?
Hold on.
That's strange. Because that's not what my trivia says. Curious.
No, you in episode 354, you were in my house.
And what date was that?
Hold on.
Maybe I just
Blair, new intern, works at a zoo, likes hippos.
Yeah. I remember that well.
Arranging them from smallest stones in the front to the largest in the back. And there's some theories about that, but they actually found a really good correlation. It was an R squared of 0.96. So that's really
one being perfect.
Right. So it's a really intense, almost perfect correlation between mating success and how smooth the gradient from small to large was in the avenue of the bower. And so they were saying that it's probably related to optical illusions because, as we all know, when there's big things but they're far away, they look smaller. So it makes all of the stones from the front, the smallest, and the back are the biggest. They make them all look the same size. And the male is all the way at the back where the large stones are, and the female's in the front. So really, it sounds like it would make him look smaller.
It does.
But they do this long dance and they'll pick up stones and play with them. And the dance will go from 1 to 12 minutes.
So if he's in the back looking small, picking up stones, then he must be
We both
really
sound very
strong.
different.
Right. He's really strong. Also, he looks smaller. So apparently the bowers, they all look different, but they're all open-ended. So there's two ends to it. And they found that if there was an enclosed bower, the female wouldn't even go in because she would think she would be trapped and she couldn't get away. So I don't know if also they look like
bower birds and visual trickery. Oh, how smart are those birds? Do they know what they're doing?
So I think this is what I did is I think I tried to calculate the episode number because they're not listed on our website. And I think I must have miscalculated the episode number.
Oh. What?
So
354 is January 30th.
So it was before that.
Yeah.
Because my first show was January 12th.
That makes sense.
So then that's like, how do you find the episode number? Do you say it at the beginning still?
I think so. Yeah. At the beginning, yes. Because I did have them numbered.
Okay.
Let's see. 353. Let's see if I can find these things. It's hard. Lana, I gotta find these things. I'll find them. I will find them. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. I'm gonna listen to lots of Blair this next week.
Does that mean I'm not bringing any stories? We're just gonna play my old stories.
No.
Okay.
We need a new animal corner. Just update it.
Justin,
All
your
right.
microphone used to sound way better.
I had a very professional microphone.
Yeah, and then it
previously.
didn't work. Then one day it didn't work.
Yeah, well, yeah. Also, yeah. Then one day it started cutting out. Something was loose in it, and I stopped working. So, yeah. It's all about mic quality. It's, we'll get there again one day. We'll have great technology again someday on this show.
All right. This mic is much louder, says Sarah Fusia.
You were cracking a little bit today too.
There was a little bit of popping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a problem with the laptop I've been journeying with and using. Turned out we had a technical issue with the camera cutting out. Camera was actually fine. It's the USB ports on this computer are wiggly. Something that if I was on the Daily Tech News show, I would ask them, "What do you do with the wiggly port?"
Yeah, that's a mistake.
But all my USB ports are very wiggly. So if if I bump the cord or something like that happens, the video was cutting out, and then maybe the audio is having issues from that as well. I am also like many thousands of miles away from where the two of you are broadcasting, which could always cause some sort of latency issues or something like that. So who knows?
There's a story in The Hill that Charles in our Discord put in suggested stories from December 28th. NASA hired religious experts to predict how humans may react to aliens. They recruited 24 theologians to assess societal implications for the agency's astrobiological and life search efforts. I'm sure they've talked to sociologists and psychologists as well, not just religious experts, but it's interesting. Interesting questions. Some interesting things.
Yeah. I don't feel like I don't feel like that is a crowd we really need to worry about. Point in case, hey, what if there was some evidence that I don't know, planet was older than 6,000 years? What if what if there was like all of this fossil record evidence going back millions of years of all sorts of other life forms, much older than 6,000? Hey, what if actually agriculture itself is older than 6,000?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, what if we could prove that? How would you react to that? I don't know. Hey, what if we could prove actually a chain of sort of cause and effect of evolution over many millions of years, starting with some life forms and evolving into the current life forms, as opposed to them all just being created poof? With that at all, how would your people react to that? Apparently they've been doing the whole don't look up strategy for so long that I don't think alien anything would affect it, honestly. I just think they're in a bubble of belief.
That movie was really hard to watch.
All right. So I'm reading reading through this story, and it's what they were trying to do. NASA was trying to determine the serious scholarship being published in books and journals addressing profound wonder and mystery and implications of finding microbial life on another planet, wanting to know how the world's major religions would likely respond if they were made aware of the existence of aliens. So just to know, it's good to know how different groups might respond. Interesting. I haven't seen Don't Look Up yet either, and
no spoilers, but it is my new favorite movie.
I know.
No spoilers,
Idiocracy used to be my favorite movie, but I can't watch it anymore.
No spoilers, but don't watch it right before bed, and make sure to queue up something fun to watch afterwards. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking I should probably, if I watch it, I'm going to have to just like live tweet my watching of it and be like, oh my God, they did that.
You can certainly try, but I couldn't look away pretty quickly. I was sucked in, and I was like, I'm paralyzed. I'm paralyzed by this film. But yeah,
and it's amazing because the movie itself not that intense, but it is. My best description of it is it's a little bit like
it could be very intense.
It's a little, and again, no spoilers, but it's a little bit like, the problem is it's a little bit like watching a not really well done, maybe even airplane disaster movie on the in-flight.
Justin,
I mean, it's not that it's not well done. It's well done. I think it's well done. It's just that it didn't have to be well done. You're in flight.
No. I disagree with you completely in that I found it incredibly intense. I was like nervous. My heart rate was raised for most of the movie. But I think it's also because I'm a climate change communicator. And that's what that movie, was made for. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because it predates. You're right.
The
writing predates.
it was
correct.
Gord
basically
McLeod, this is Don't Look Up on Netflix that we're talking about.
Yeah, but we're
It
not
was a
giving
movie
spoilers.
basically positing that everything I do is for nothing. So
Yeah. So
it was
the
pretty
interesting,
intense.
right? And so this was written mostly before the pandemic.
Yes.
But
And
luckily, it
people
has
thought
a
it was
happy ending.
crazy. Like a lot of things were like kind of way out. That's so unbelievable. And then the pandemic happened. And there was an article written recently that I was reading. The person who wrote the article and had watched it was talking about being a pandemic communicator and someone in communicating public health during the pandemic, and was like, this movie is actually much more like completely on the nose for pandemic science communication than it is for climate change. Even like if you were to just switch the topic, it would be like, so just, yes, this is what we're seeing right now.
So I heard that Adam McKay, right, who wrote it, he rewrote it after the pandemic started because he thought it was absurd, and so much of it had happened that he had to make it more absurd because otherwise it wasn't going to be funny.
If you want to make it an absurdist comedy, you have to go beyond reality.
That is a problem. So all of the was it House of Cards or the VP show, all the White House drama shows get that no good now. You can't. The reality became so much more insane and absurd that to write something that people are like, oh, here's a satire-ish take on what it's like to be in government, has to raise that bar of absurdity even higher than what's actually happening to the point where, it's just going to be nonsense from now on. Trying to do a White House satire, it's like everything is believable then, and then it just doesn't matter.
I mean, after My Pillow guy, I just am done. I'm done.
Oh,
it's over. Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe everything now. I'm like, I don't know what's real, and who knows what's real anymore. I just know science. That's all I know. That's my whole world. Keep the blinders on. Keep the blinders on. Don't look out. Don't look out. It says don't look up, but don't look out. Just stay in your little happy science world.
Well, that's the thing. Then you can do what Gord was joking about there in the chat room. You just don't look it up. You hear about a story. What is that? Did that really? Just don't look it up. Just don't Google the news story. Don't read up on it. If it's not coming from a science source, just don't look it up.
A modest proposal, yeah.
All right. Have we done it?
We've done it. We did it. Oh my
Another
goodness. I'm going to have to watch this movie. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm going to have to do it. I've been putting it off and putting it off, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
So I will say I was tracking our time, and we did really well until we started on the news.
Yeah.
We were right on time with the predictions, and then the science news derailed us. But
we were still very close to on time, though. We finished
close.
the show at 9:40.
Yeah.
So
we got pretty close.
And we started a little late.
Mm-hmm.
So not terribly late. So
3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's close. Good job, team.
Keep it up.
Very well done. We didn't overdo it too much. It was good. We did it. Didn't overdo it. Didn't underdo it. And now it's time for us to sleep as Blair's yawn.
Oh my goodness. Say good night, Blair.
Yeah.
Good night, Blair. Say good morning, Justin.
Good morning, Justin. Good night, Kiki.
Good night, everyone. Good morning, Justin. I'm glad you're caffeinated and ready to go. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And yes, Monday, DTNS, Blair, with the Daily Tech News Show crew, if you remember, and Blair will probably tweet and let everyone know that
I
is
certainly
happening. We look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday, and we'll let you know if. Well, I mean, you'll notice if Justin's here or not here, and we'll let you know what's going on. So we look forward to seeing you all. Stay well, stay safe, stay sane, I don't know, who cares about sanity? Whatever. Stay curious.
Stay
and
smart.
We'll see you. Yeah. Take
Stay
care.
home.
Thank you. Stay home. Yeah. Stay healthy.